Make sure I don't die in traffic. That's an easier thing to do. I know what I know. Optimize all of your directory listings. That's always working, never quits, never calls in late, blah, blah, blah. I know, surprising, right? How could there possibly be construction on 20th Street? Wrong, 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 wrong. Drivers make me crazy. Am I just adding to the crazy? Hello, Ken Collins here, running errands. And make sure I don't die in traffic before I answer this next question, because it's an important one. So anyway, somebody asked me why doesn't my website show up in Google search? And that's not as easy to answer as a lot of other things. There are so many factors why that may be. But let's assume that you've had a website, it's not a brand new website, and that sort of thing. So what we really need to do is back up a couple of paces and relook at this question in a different light. So if you're actually trying to get people to your website, then we address it a certain way. If your end goal is really, if you're a local business, most likely what you're trying to get from your internet traffic is phone calls and people in the door. And in that case, you don't necessarily need to get them to your website. That's one of the places where they can find your phone number and address. So, on that one, that's an easier one to answer. There are hundreds of directories and listings and things like that. So let's say Yelp and City Search and Lord have mercy, what are all of them? Google Places, Yahoo Places, I think it's Yahoo Local. I don't remember the names of them all, but anyway, there are hundreds of them, directories and listings, to where if someone searches, you could come up in not necessarily your website, but one of those directory services that then lists your phone number and your address. And most of these searches are going to come on a mobile device. So end goal received, right? So they didn't necessarily get to your website. They did a search, some listing services come up, or directories came up with your name and phone number and address, and all they did was just click through, and now they're talking to you on the phone and they never saw your website. So that's why I asked the question. Back up a couple of spaces and ask the question in a different way. Are you actually trying to get people to your website, or are you really just trying to use your website to get phone calls and people walking in the door? On those same directory services, if they come across you and click through and find one of those, they can probably just get a map directions to your store as well. So they can either call you or they can come by and visit you, and they never actually saw your website. So that's an easier thing to do. Sort of. It's just really time intensive, but it's easier to do. And most likely in a local, I'm going to get kickback from other marketers on this, but I know what I know. In a local environment like this one, where I work and live, it doesn't need to be a long-term thing. SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization, SEO is a never-ending, lifelong pursuit. That's just what it is. It's not a service that you can buy and then walk away from because now it's done. It's never done, ever, ever, ever. But in a market like this, where your most likely end goal is that you're looking for phone calls and people walking in the door of your establishment, you don't necessarily need people to get to your website. You need to have one. You need to have one. because that's going to play a part in your directories and your listings and all that kind of thing. But you can focus your efforts for about 6 months. Well, that's what the time frame it takes me. If you hire me, it's about 6 months, and then it's a one and done, and you can stop that service. But optimize all of your directory listings for your proper name, proper phone number, proper address, proper description, maybe a photo or 2 or 3 or whatever it might be. Go out and find and claim and optimize all of those hundreds of directories and listings and all that, so that when someone searches, it might not be your website that comes up in the search results. It might just be one of those directory listings, and they're going to have your phone number and your address and a description of who you are and what you do and what you sell, and maybe even a picture and all that kind of thing. And they don't need your website at that point, because what you're trying to get them to do is call you or come walking in the door, and then get that accomplished without your website in one of those services. I'm going to miss my turn here. So if so that's local SEO, or a portion of local SEO, and it's where I center my efforts on a local SEO service. So if you're actually trying to get people to your website, not just maybe find your phone number and address and all that kind of thing, but you actually want them on your website, which you absolutely should, because your website should be a marketing tool for you that's always working, never quits, never calls in late, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, if you actually want them on your website, then that's a never-ending pursuit. But take heart, in a smaller market, which many local businesses are, in a smaller market, it's not, you have less competition for ranking for certain things. And this person is, we're in construction on 20th Street. I know, surprising, right? How could there possibly be construction on 20th Street? Lord have mercy. And people turning left when they shouldn't be turning left. Anyway, back to my thing. Drivers make me crazy. Or was I already crazy? Am I just adding to the crazy? That could be it. So anyway, if you're trying to get people to your website, that's a never-ending thing, but it's not unachievable, and it can be done. It's just really what you need to do is hire somebody to get that done. It could be me, it could be somebody else, but you really need to hire somebody that knows what they're doing with SEO. Again, SEO means search engine optimization. Now I'm gonna roll down my window because it is way too hot. Going into November and it's still too hot for me. So, Google will rank every page on your site against roughly 200 factors. They will grade them and catalog them. So if your website has 10 pages, each one of those 10 pages is going to be graded individually in order to get you found. It's going to look at things like, again, there's 200 of them, and I ain't going to list them all. But it'll look at things like your page title, the URL of the page, alt tags on links and images. Are your links appropriate to the content of the page? Are your alt tags appropriate for the page and its content? Headers on the page, the content itself, how much of the content is there? Are you overusing your keywords? Are you underusing your keywords? Is the content itself, because they're very smart, do not think you're going to trick these things anymore. You used to be able to do all kinds of goofy tactics to get that done, but Google is very smart. They have artificial intelligence and everything, and looking at your pages and grading them and reading them, actually reading them for real language, and do they make sense. And it's just insane, all the things that they do to make sure that they're giving actual good quality search results. So but it's a thing that is never ending. They're always regrading your site. So if you do all the things that you think you should do and then leave it alone, you're going to keep falling. Why? Because your site is aging. It wants the internet rewards new and fresh content. So the older your site is, in other words, the longer it's been since there was a change made, the older it is, and the older it is, the less new and fresh it is, right? So the newer and fresher stuff is going to come first. So if you just do all your stuff to your website and then think you're done and call it quits and I don't need this service anymore, you're wrong. It needs to keep on going, because the older your site is, the less likely you're going to show up in search results. Now, if your competition is extremely low for particular things, that might not matter to you, because there might not be anybody else for them to show in the search results. So it's something to weigh. Anyway, it's a really complicated answer, but I hope that I simplified it enough. Why doesn't my site show up in Google? Those could be the reasons why. If you're really trying to get your website to show up in Google, it's not something that you're going to understand, and it's probably not something that you're going to be able to do and fix. So I would suggest hiring somebody. I really would. SEO is one of the most complicated things for a digital marketer to do. Local SEO, in what I was discussing as far as local SEO, the directory optimization and listings and claiming listings and all that sort of thing, that's easier to do. It's just time intensive and can be aggravated. But once you've got those done, probably no need to keep on going with something like that. I mean, you can let's just leave it at that. There's probably no need. 6 months and you're done. So there you are. I hope that helps. I hope that is clear as mud as far as why doesn't your site show up in Google. Good luck.